brought health care to over 20 million Americans and protected people with pre-existing conditions. And what it also did is it saved those families who otherwise were going bankrupt because of hospital bills they could not afford. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who's in court right now, trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which means that you will lose protections if you have pre-existing conditions. And this is very important, Susan.
Yes,
and it's
we need to give Vice President.
He interrupted me, and I'd like to just finish, please. If you have a pre-existing condition, heart disease, diabetes, breast cancer, they're coming for you. If you love someone who has a pre-existing condition,
Thank you, Senator
coming for
Harris.
you. If you are under the
Okay, shut up, Kamala. God damn.
Senator Harris, thank you. Let me give you a chance to respond.
Well, I hope we have a chance to talk about health care because Obamacare was a disaster. People remember it well.
Wow.
President Trump and I have a plan to improve health care and to protect pre-existing conditions for every American. But look, Senator Harris, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts.
Wow.
You yourself said on multiple occasions when you were running for president that you would ban fracking. Joe Biden looked at a supporter in the eye and pointed and said, I guarantee that we will abolish fossil fuels. They have a $2 trillion version of the Green New Deal, Susan, that your newspaper, USA Today, said really wasn't that very different from the original Green New Deal. More taxes, more regulation, banning fracking, abolishing fossil fuel, crushing American energy, and economic surrender to China is a prescription for economic decline. President Trump and I will keep America growing. The V-shaped recovery that's underway right now will continue with 4 more years of President Donald Trump.
Thank you very, very much, Vice President Pence. Once again, you've provided the perfect segue to a new topic, which is climate change. And Vice President Pence, I'd like to pose the first question to you. This year, we've seen record-setting hurricanes in the south. Another one, Hurricane Delta, is now threatening the Gulf. And we have seen record-setting wildfires in the west. Do you believe, as the scientific community has concluded, that man-made climate change has made wildfires bigger, hotter, and more deadly, and have made hurricanes wetter, slower, and more damaging? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Thank you, Susan. Well, first, I'm very proud of our record on the environment and on conservation. According to all of the best estimates, our air and land are cleaner than any time ever recorded. Our water is among the cleanest in the world. And just a little while ago, the President signed the Outdoors Act. It's the largest investment in our public lands and public parks in 100 years. So President Trump has made a commitment to conservation and to the environment. Now, with regard to climate change, the climate is changing. But the issue is, what's the cause and what do we do about it? President Trump has made it clear that we're going to continue to listen to the science. Now, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would put us back in the Paris Climate Accord. They'd impose the Green New Deal, which would crush American energy, would increase the energy costs of American families in their homes, and literally would crush American jobs. And President Trump and I believe that the progress that we have made in a cleaner environment has been happening precisely because we have a strong free market economy. You know, what's remarkable is the United States has reduced CO2 more than the countries that are still in the Paris Climate Accord, but we've done it through innovation, and we've done it through natural gas and fracking, which, Senator, the American people can go look at the record. I know Joe Biden says otherwise now, as you do, but the both of you repeatedly committed to abolishing fossil fuel and banning fracking. And so by creating the kind of American innovation, we're actually steering toward a stronger and better environment. With regard to wildfires, President Trump and I believe that forest management has to be front and center, and even Governor Gavin Newsom from your state has agreed we've got to work on forest management. And with regard to hurricanes, the National Oceanic Administration tells us that actually as difficult as they are,
Thank you, Vice President.
there are no more hurricanes today than there were 100 years ago.
Thank you.
But many of the climate alarmists use hurricanes and wildfires to try and sell the bill of goods of a Green New Deal.
Oh, he must don't believe in HAARP. Okay.
That
That sounds like bullshit.
First.
Senator Harris, as the Vice President mentioned, you co-sponsored the Green New Deal in Congress. But Vice President Biden said in last week's debate that he does not support the Green New Deal. But if you look at the Biden-Harris campaign website, it describes the Green New Deal as a crucial framework. What exactly would be the stance of a Biden-Harris administration toward the Green New Deal? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Sure. So first of all, I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact.
Pence shaking his head, y'all.
I will repeat that Joe Biden has been very clear that he thinks about growing
This climate
jobs,
change shit is
why he will
boring.
not increase taxes for anyone
Let's talk about some
making
racial issues,
$100,000
goddammit.
a year. Joe
Oh, I
Biden's
know, they
economic
dodging the
plan,
issue of reparations. I get it.
which is a reputable Wall
This is
Street
what happens
firm
when you have a bunch of
that said will create
crackers
7 million more
having a
jobs
fucking
than
debate.
Donald Trump's. And part of those
You
jobs
debate
that will
over
be
some
created by
bullshit
Joe
ass
Biden
topics.
are going to be about clean energy.
At least talk
and
about
renewable
environmental racism. I
energy.
mean,
As you
god
see,
damn.
Joe understands
I don't even want to hear this
that
bitch
the
talk.
west coast of our country is
Pence
burning,
ain't doing that
including
much
my home state of
better his
California.
damn self.
Joe sees what is
I
happening
don't give a fuck about
on the
neither
Gulf
one of these
states,
motherfuckers.
which
I'm
are
just
being
recording
battered
this
by
shit.
storms. Joe has seen and
Just so I
talked
can
with
talk
the
shit about
farmers
both of
in
these
Iowa,
motherfuckers.
whose entire crops have been
So I can
destroyed
cuss
because
and
of
say what the
floods.
fuck I want.
And so Joe believes, again,
Shit.
in science. I'll tell you something, Susan. I served, when I first got to the Senate, on the committee that's responsible for the environment. Do you know this administration took the word science off the website and then took the phrase climate change off the website? We have seen a pattern with this administration, which is they don't believe in science. And Joe's plan is about saying,
Oh,
we're
'cause
gonna
he's
do this, but we're
religious,
also gonna
right?
create jobs.
Oh,
Donald
okay.
Trump, when asked about the wildfires in California,
I guess
and
Christian
the
and
question
science
was,
don't
you know,
mix
the
together.
Science is telling us this. You know what Donald Trump said? Science doesn't know. So let's talk about who is prepared to lead our country over the course of the next 4 years on what is an existential threat to us as human beings. Joe is about saying we're going to invest that in renewable energy. It's going to be about the creation of millions of jobs. We will achieve net zero emissions by 2050, carbon neutral by 2035. Joe has a plan. This has been a lot of talk from the Trump administration, and really it has been to go backward instead of forward. We will also re-enter the climate agreement with pride.
Senator Harris just said that climate change is an existential threat. Vice President Pence, do you believe that climate change poses an existential threat?
As I said, Susan, the climate is changing. We'll follow the science. But once again, Senator Harris is denying the fact that they're going to raise taxes on every American. Joe Biden said twice in the debate last week that on day one he was going to repeal the Trump tax cuts. Those tax cuts delivered $2,000 in tax relief to the average family of four across America. And with regard to banning fracking, I just recommend that people look at the record. You yourself said repeatedly that you would ban fracking. You were the first Senate co-sponsor of the Green New Deal. And while Joe Biden denied the Green New Deal, Susan, thank you for pointing out, the Green New Deal is on their campaign website. And as USA Today said, it's essentially the same plan as you co-sponsored with AOC when she submitted it in the Senate. And you just heard the senator say that she's going to resubmit America to the Paris Climate Accord. Look, the American people have always cherished our environment. We'll continue to cherish it. We've made great progress reducing CO2 emissions through American innovation and the development of natural gas through fracking. We don't need a massive $2 trillion Green New Deal that would impose all new mandates on American businesses and American families.
Thank you.
Joe Biden wants us
Thank
to
you, Vice
retrofit
President.
4 million
Thank you, Vice
American
President.
business buildings. It makes no sense. It will cost jobs. President Trump
Thank
is
you,
going to
Vice
put
President.
America first. He's going to put jobs first, and we're going to take care of our environment and follow the science.
Thank
But,
you, Vice
you know,
President
on the issue of jobs,
Senator Harris.
let's talk about that. The vice president earlier referred to, as part of what he thinks is an accomplishment, the president's trade war with China. You lost that trade war. You lost it. What ended up happening is because of a so-called trade war with China, America lost
try
300,000
that shit.
manufacturing jobs. Farmers have experienced bankruptcy because of it. We are in a manufacturing recession. because of it. And when we look at where this administration has been, there are estimates that by the end of the term of this administration, they will have lost more jobs than almost any other presidential administration. And the American people know what I'm talking about. You know, I think about 20-year-olds. You know, we have a 20-year-old, a 20-something-year-old, who are coming out of high school and college right now, and you're wondering, is there going to be a job there for me? We're looking at people who are trying to figure out how they're going to pay rent by the end of the month. Almost half of American renters are worried about whether they're going to be able to pay rent by the end of the month. This is where the economy is in America right now, and it is because of the catastrophe and the failure of leadership of this administration.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, let me give you just 15 seconds to respond, because then I want to move on to...
Well, I'd love to respond. Look, lost the trade war with China. Joe Biden never fought it. Joe Biden has been a cheerleader for communist China through over the last several decades. And again, Senator Harris, you're entitled to your opinion. You're not entitled to your own facts. When Joe Biden was vice president, we lost
Notice he said that again.
100,000
You're
manufacturing
entitled to your
jobs.
opinion, but not
President
entitled to
Obama
your
said
own
they were never
facts.
coming back. He said we needed a magic wand to bring them back.
I think that's probably
In our
his
first
favorite
3
saying.
years after we cut taxes,
Thank you, Vice
rolled back
President.
regulation, unleashed American energy, this administration saw 500,000
Thank you, Vice
manufacturing
President
jobs
Pence.
created. And that's exactly the kind of growth we're going to continue to see as we bring our nation through
Thank you, Vice
this
President
pandemic.
Pence.
With a Green New
Thank you,
Deal, your
Vice
massive
President
new
Pence.
mandates, your Paris
You
Climate
just still
Accord,
talking.
It's going to kill jobs this time, just like it killed jobs.
I'd like
Susan,
to-
I just need to respond very briefly,
15
please.
seconds, and
Thank
then
you.
we'll move
Thank you. Joe Biden is responsible for saving America's auto industry, and you voted against it. So let's set the record straight. Thank you.
I'd like to talk about
he
China.
voted against
we
it,
have,
huh?
as our next topic, we have no more complicated
Wonder what's the
or
evidence on that.
consequential foreign relationship than the one with China. It is a huge market for American agricultural goods. It's a potential partner in dealing with climate change in North Korea. And in a video tonight, President Trump again blamed it for the coronavirus, saying China will pay. Vice President Pence, how would you describe our fundamental relationship with China? Competitors, adversaries, enemies? You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Susan. Well, before I leave that, let me speak to voting records if I can. You know, everybody knows that NAFTA cost literally thousands of American factories to close. We
Okay.
saw automotive jobs go south of the border. President Trump fought to
That's the
renegotiate
Republicans'
NAFTA.
bread and butter,
The
too.
United States-Mexico-Canada agreement is now the law of the land.
My question, how many Republicans
American
voted for
people
that
deserve to
shit
know.
as well? You know what I
Senator
mean?
Kamala Harris was one of only 10 members
It's not
of
just-
the Senate
it's not
to
just
vote
the
against
Democrats.
USMCA.
Democrats
It
and
was a huge
Republicans
win for American
helped
auto
get rid of
workers.
NAFTA and
It was a huge win
helped
for
get-
American
helped,
farmers, especially dairy in
you
the
know,
upper Midwest. But Senator,
help get-
you said it didn't go far enough
help
on
legislate
climate change,
NAFTA.
That you put your radical environmental agenda ahead of American auto workers and ahead of American jobs.
Both
That-
Democrats and
American people deserve to
Republicans
know
do
that.
the
It's
same
probably
thing.
why Newsweek magazine said that
Two
Kamala Harris
wings
was
on the same
most liberal
motherfucking
member of
bird.
the United States Senate in 2019, more liberal than Bernie Sanders.
Both of them are full of shit.
More liberal than any of the others.
Look at this
in the
clown
United States
show.
Senate. So, now, with regard to China,
But see, you getting a calm debate as opposed to
Susan,
Trump and
first
Biden.
foremost,
See, Pence ain't gotta show off and do all that shit like Trump does. You know what I'm saying?
and President Trump is not happy about it. He's
So
made
it's
that very
interesting
clear.
how calm he is as opposed to Trump.
China and
Trump
the
just
World
like
Health
to,
Organization did not play
you know,
straight
he
with the
likes
American
to
people.
roast people
They did
because
not
he's an
let our
entertainer.
personnel into China
This guy's cut
information
from
on
a
the
different
coronavirus
cloth.
Until the middle of February. Fortunately, President Trump, in dealing with China from the outset of this administration, standing up to China that had been taking advantage of America for decades in the wake of Joe Biden's cheerleading for China, President Trump made that decision before the end of January to suspend all travel from China. And again, the American people deserve to know Joe Biden opposed President Trump's decision to suspend all travel from China. He said it was hysterical. He said it was
Thank you, Vice
xenophobic.
President Pence.
But President Trump has
Vice President
stood
Pence,
up
your
to
time is
China.
up.
We're going to continue to stand strong.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
We want to improve the relationship, but we're going to level the playing field, and we're going to hold
Damn,
you
China
still talking.
accountable
Damn,
for what they
B.
did to America. with
All
the
right, man,
coronavirus.
calm
Thank
down.
Senator Harris, let me ask you
he's
the
still
same
talking.
question that I asked the Vice
Sheesh.
President. How would you describe our fundamental relationship with China? Are we competitors, adversaries, enemies? You'll have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Susan, the Trump administration's perspective and approach to China has resulted in the loss of American lives, American jobs, and America's standing. There's a weird obsession that President Trump has had with getting rid of whatever accomplishment was achieved by President Obama and Vice President Biden.
Our bad.
For example, they created within the White House an office that basically was responsible for monitoring pandemics. They got rid of it.
Not true.
There was a team of disease experts that President Obama and Vice President Biden dispatched to China to monitor what is now predictable and what might happen. They pulled them out. We now are looking at 210,000 Americans who have lost their lives. Let's look at the job situation. We mentioned before the trade deal,
Damn, she looked
the
good.
trade war,
Damn, girl.
they wanted to call it, with China. It resulted
Shit.
in the loss of over 300 manufacturing jobs and a
Sexy
manufacturing
shit,
recession.
too.
And the American consumer paying thousands of dollars more for goods because of that failed war that they called it. Then let's talk about standing. Pew, a reputable research firm, has done an analysis that shows that leaders of all of our formerly allied countries have now decided that they hold in greater esteem and respect Xi Jinping, the head of the Chinese Communist Party, than they do Donald Trump, the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief of the United States. This is where we are today because of a failure of leadership by this administration.
Senator Harris, we've seen changes in the role of the United States in terms of global leadership over the past 4 years. And of course, times do change. What's your definition? We've seen strains with China, of course, as the Vice President mentioned. We've seen strains with our traditional allies in NATO and elsewhere. What is your definition of the role of American leadership in 2020?
So, Joe I love talking with Joe about a lot of these issues. And, Joe, I think he said it quite well. He says, foreign policy, it might sound complicated, but really it's relationships. So just think about it as relationships. And so we know this in our personal and professional relationships. You got to keep your word to your friends. You got to be loyal to your friends. People who've stood with you, got to stand with them. You got to know who your adversaries are and keep them in check. But what we have seen with Donald Trump is that he has betrayed our friends and embraced dictators around the world. Let's take, for example, Russia. So, Russia, I serve on the Intelligence Committee of the United States Senate. America's intelligence community told us Russia interfered in the election of the President of the United States in 2016 and is playing in 2020. Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, said the same. But Donald Trump, the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America, prefers to take the word of Vladimir Putin over the word of the American intelligence community. You look at our friends at NATO. He's walked away from agreements. You can look at the Iran nuclear deal, which now has put us in a position where we are less safe because they are building up what might end up being a significant nuclear arsenal. We were in that deal, guys. We were in the Iran nuclear deal with friends, with allies around the country. And because of Donald Trump's unilateral approach to foreign policy, coupled with his isolationism, he pulled us out and has made America less safe. So, Susan, it's about relationships. And the thing that has always been part of the strength of our nation, in addition to our great military, has been that we keep our word. But Donald Trump doesn't understand that because he doesn't understand what it means to be honest.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, let me give you a chance to respond.
Well, thank you. President Trump kept his word when we moved the American embassy to Jerusalem. the capital of the state of Israel. When Joe Biden was vice president, they promised to do that, and they never did. We've stood strong with our allies, but we've been demanding. NATO is now contributing more to our common defense than ever before, thanks to President Trump's leadership. We've strengthened our alliances across the Asia-Pacific, and we've stood strong against those who would do us harm. You know, when President Trump came into office, ISIS had captured an area of the Middle East the size of Pennsylvania. President Trump unleashed the American military, and our armed forces destroyed the ISIS caliphate and took down their leader, al-Baghdadi, without one American casualty. Al-Baghdadi was responsible for the death of thousands, but notably America's hearts today are with the family of Kayla Mueller, her parents of which are here with us tonight in Salt Lake City. Today, two of the ISIS killers responsible for Kayla Mueller's murder were brought to justice in the United States. Jihadi John was killed on the battlefield along with the other beetle. The reality is that when Joe Biden was vice president, we had an opportunity to save Kayla Mueller. It breaks my heart to reflect on it, but the military came into the Oval Office, presented a plan. They said they knew where Kayla was. Baghdadi had held her for 18 months, abused her mercilessly before they killed her. But when Joe Biden was vice president, they hesitated for a month. And when armed forces finally went in, it was clear she'd been moved 2 days earlier. And her family says with a heart that broke the heart of every American that if President Donald Trump had been president, they believe Kayla would be alive today.
Thank you, Vice
Look, we
President.
destroyed the ISIS caliphate. And you talk about re-entering the Iran nuclear deal. I mean, the last administration transferred $1.8 billion to the leading state sponsor
Thank you, Vice
of
President.
terrorism. President Donald Trump got us out of the deal.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
And when Qasem Soleimani was traveling to
Dad,
Baghdad
he's still
Thank you, Vice
talking, ain't he?
President.
to Americans, President Donald Trump took
Thank you,
him
Vice
out.
President Pence.
And America is safer. Our allies
Okay,
are
we're gonna have to
safer.
start
The
cutting some
American
mics
people
off because y'all
President
talking
Donald
way
Trump
over your
will never-
goddamn
Thank you, Vice
time.
President. I would like to give Senator Harris a chance to respond, but not at such great length because, of course, there are other topics we want to talk about.
But I would like equal time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
First of all, to the Mueller family, I know about your daughter's case, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What happened
Yeah,
to
whatever,
her is
bitch.
awful. And
Stop
it shouldn't
pretending
go
you
back.
care, Kamala. You full of shit.
And I know Joe feels the same way. And I know that President Obama feels the
Boy,
same
y'all
way.
full of shit.
But you mentioned Soleimani. Let's start there. So after the strike on Soleimani, there was a counter strike on our troops in Iraq. And they suffered serious brain injuries. And do you know what Donald Trump dismissed them as? Headaches. And this is about a pattern of Donald Trump's, where he has referred to our men who are serving in our military as suckers and losers. Donald Trump, who went to Arlington Cemetery and stood above the graves of our fallen heroes and said, what's in it for them? Because, of course, you know, he only thinks about what's in it for him. Let's take what he said about John McCain, a great American hero. And Donald Trump says he doesn't deserve to be called a hero because he was a prisoner of war. And this is very important when you want to talk about who is the current
There's a
commander in
whole
chief
other story about
and
John
what they care
McCain.
about and what they don't
I'll
care
advise
about.
everyone to research
Public
that shit.
reporting that Russia had bounties on the
John
heads
McCain used that prisoner of war
of
shit for his
American
come up,
soldiers.
just like
And you know
John
what a
Lewis
bounty
used that.
is?
He was getting
It's
beaten in the
somebody puts a
head by
price
some
on your
goddamn
head, and they
crackers
will pay
at
if you
fucking
are
Selma,
killed.
walking across
And
that
Donald Trump had
that
talked at
white
least 6
supremacist,
times
like
to
walking across some
Vladimir Putin
bridge named after a
and
fucking white
never brought up the
supremacist to get his
subject.
come up.
Joe Biden would never do that.
Thank you.
Joe Biden would. But
Fuck Joe Biden. Yeah, whatever.
Would hold Russia to account for any threat to our nation's
Oh, she
security
sounds so
or to
serious,
our
don't she?
troops who are sacrificing their lives for the sake of our democracy
God,
and our
these people
safety.
are full of
Senator
shit.
Harris. This is such an important issue, but we have other important issues as well. And I want to make